Hello again, everyone. Edwin Leonard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the natal chart of Brian Laundrie. Some of you may have heard about this. He's involved in you could say, a prolific news story. At this point in time, he is seen as a person of interest in the disappearance of Gabby Petito, and he apparently right now is on, he is on the run. He's being really elusive right now, and the cops are trying to find him at this point in time. And the first thing I want to state, though, is that I do offer my prayers out to the family and close friends of Gabby Petito, and she's from New York originally, Suffolk County. I'm from Nassau County originally, and on Long Island. Maybe I have special empathy for her in this case. I pray that she is unharmed and unscathed, but it really doesn't look very good right now. I'd hate to think the worst and be over, morose or morbid or what have you, but I do think, she likely has passed on. But I'm going to talk about the natal chart of Brian Laundrie and some transits to it that might be tied in with what's happening right now. Now, this date I'd say is a little bit speculative. His birth date, I got it from a few sources online as November 18th, 1997. Of course, that puts his sun in Scorpio. And the sun in Scorpio, of course, could be, in a negative manifestation, could be, very surreptitious, a little bit sneaky. They could be cunning, sometimes manipulative. He also has Pluto, conjoin his sun, at least making a loose conjunction to his natal sun. That could give more power to that energy. And what's interesting is when you have the sun conjunct Pluto, it's really kind of paradoxical. It's a person that often desires, the spotlight, wants the limelight, exposure, and attention, but at the same time wants to be secretive and mysterious. And he does have his sun in secretive, mysterious Scorpio anyway. The thing about this is what makes this interesting. Based on this date of November 18th, 1997, of course, I had to improvise once again and do a solar / sunrise chart. The transit south node at this time is hitting his is separating conjunction from his Pluto. That could manifest, of course, in a number of ways. That could be really going, the south node when it's in transit can be about what you're going away from. And when it contacts Pluto, it could be going away from certain power and control. He has it in Pluto in Sagittarius, and it could be maybe his power that he feels he might have over the law at this point in time. I do believe when the south node contacts a planet, it can affect that planet adversely and negatively. Pluto is about death and murder. This is something where he may have very well killed this woman, Gabby Petito. I don't know that. We don't have confirmation on that. I can't state that he did. I believe it's likely he did. The thing about this in looking at his chart as well, is that okay, in the solar / sunrise chart, he does have Pisces on the cusp of the 4th house of the end of life. In the latter end of life, Pisces is connected with imprisonment and incarceration. And I heard from one source, I don't know if this is true or not, you may want to confirm this on the internet, but that they were like homeless for some time or currently in that situation. So when you have Pisces on the cusp of the 4th house, that could indicate, a home life where you're kind of meandering, you're drifting, where the home life can be somewhat nebulous and unclear. And he also has one of the rulers of that 4th house cusp in the solar sunrise chart, Jupiter, is in the 3rd house, which may unequivocally be the most unsteady of the houses, the one that's most unstable. The 3rd house in astrology just does correspond with Mercurial Gemini, so that could be an indicator of having some instability in the home life. And the other ruler, Neptune, actually conjoins the 3rd house cusp from the second house. So that's really almost reinforcing possible instability in one's home life. Now, another thing too is that he does, when I'm looking at the chart, is that I noticed too that he has at this time transit Pluto is at least making a loose conjunction to his natal Neptune. Interestingly enough, that Pluto can be about death and murder, and Neptune is associated with disappearances. Being in Capricorn, it's the sign, Capricorn is connected with authority, and Neptune is also connected with incarceration. I do believe, my feeling is he will be apprehended at some point in time, maybe somewhere in the near future. And also at this time as well, is that you look at, based on the solar sunrise chart again, not to be redundant with it, but just to remind you that that's what it is, that that the full moon in Pisces is going to occur tomorrow on September 20th, 2021. That's going to fall in his fourth house in the solar sunrise chart. Fourth house is connected with, could be associated with burials. It could be, graveyards, burials, I would say, is still tied into that. He's going, I would not, and the full moons can also be connected with revelations and unveilings. Pisces is the sign of disappearances. And I do believe it could be, I think there could be a very good chance that tomorrow there might be some revelation, or at least some clue, or at least someone gets more of an inkling as to where she's located, where Gabby is located. And interestingly enough, that this full moon in Pisces is going to make a very close conjunction to her natal sun in Pisces. And again, as I talked about yesterday in the video about Gabby Petito's, that her sun is close to the fixed star sheet degree, which can be about suicide, homicide, murder, drowning. And the thing is, perhaps there'll be a revelation of that tomorrow. And the sun can be connected with the physical body. So it's something where there might be a revelation about where she is, something, and being in Pisces, something that was very nebulous and unclear, had some mystery to it, was confounding. Perhaps that will be revealed tomorrow when we have that full moon in Pisces. Again, that will be very close to her natal sun position. It will also be very close to her Mercury in Pisces, which of course is communication, it's the news, short journeys. We might hear something about that more that might be prominent on the news then, of course, as well. If the body is discovered naturally, it's going to go hand in hand, and we may hear something on the news pertaining to this. Now, another thing about Brian Laundrie's chart, in the solar sunrise chart, he does have the North Node, transit North Node, in that seventh house, the Mercurial Gemini. And when you have the North Node in transit, it can often reflect issues one may have to address or confront. This is could be something with the law, a legal situation, a mercurial relationship at this time. And to me, it seemed like there was something that was contentious with with the situation he had with her. I noticed, I'm looking at his chart, he has Mars conjunct Venus in Capricorn, which can indicate there may have been, that could show, reflect in some cases, acerbic relationships. Mars is acrimony, Venus is connected with love and relationships. It's in cold, undemonstrative, and cold, callous Capricorn. It can indicate that his lovers, or even his perception of them, might have been, having Venus in Capricorn, his lovers, or at least his perception of them, might have been somewhat, where he saw them maybe as cold. Maybe he expressed cold energy and love himself. He also has, at this time, he's got Venus is opposed. Well, based on the solar sunrise time anyway, Venus is opposite his moon in Cancer, and the moon in astrology, of course, could be connected with women that are prominent in one's life. A moon in Cancer can be women that, in some cases, can be a Cancer sun, moon, or ascendant, or embody those characteristics. Maybe Gabby has a Cancer ascendant, or I mean, she can embody those characteristics. She may have been somebody that was somewhat fickle, moody, temperamental, nurturing, sympathetic, or at least that's what he saw of her. Sadly, that moon is also in the 8th house of death in the solar sunrise chart. Hold on a moment, people. Another thing in the solar slash sunrise chart that I noticed is he does have, Brian has Venus square Saturn. So that's another indicator of perhaps, well, that's an indicator of having, dealing with maybe something in love that might be despondent or restricting. Maybe he was somewhat inhibited in expressing his sentiments and his feelings to some degree. And then being in Capricorn, it's hard anyway. Venus in Capricorn, the sign of restriction. And one's feelings that could be really very serious and maybe sometimes even sad. Feelings of sentiments connected with, despondency or dejection. Um, those are things where that might have been very hard for him to express. And also, too, looking at this, looking at his chart, just Saturn is in the 5th house in the solar sunrise chart, and that could show, restrictions or limitations in matters of the heart, and it's something where, it's really, to me, I do believe, again, he did likely, I mean, for close to 100%, there's some involvement in this somehow, some way. I'm looking at this too. It appears that that it transit Venus at this point in time, Venus in Scorpio, looks like it's very close to his natal Chiron in Scorpio, in the 12th house of the hidden, of solitude, seclusion, the house of confusion. And Venus, of course, could be about our relationships, love connections. Chiron can be associated with not just emotional wounds, but physical ones as well. That's an indicator that somebody he was in a relationship with can be, has suffered some kind of trauma or injury at this time as well. And I mean, it can be, injury to where maybe the area where, by the colon or the prostate, the bladder, and that injury, maybe there's physical wounds in that area. Scorpio is also the sign connected with death and murder, and, negative manifestations. Scorpio can also be, I would say of all the zodiac signs, the one that's most diabolical and sinister. As well, transit Venus in the 12th house by itself can be an indicator of a love that is dissipated, that has gone away, that is not there anymore, because the 12th house is the house of endings. It's a house of limitations, of restrictions. It's the house of the hidden. That's an indicator too of a disappearance of a loved one. The 12th house is also the house of disappearances. And the thing about this too, there's one, when I look at this, I look at his chart, sadly this is just something where maybe, this could have been his Scorpio energy sadly going, all wrong, and we'll see how this plays out. And again, I do think there is a, maybe at least an even possibility that her body may even be discovered where she is as soon as tomorrow, when we have that full moon in Pisces. I mean, we don't know that 100%, but it is interesting that it is going to fall on tomorrow. Will be the day of the full moon, and maybe he'll be even apprehended. The police will catch up with him by tomorrow as well, because when you have a full moon in astrology, it could reflect the ending of something. And Pisces is very evasive and elusive energy. It's connected with escapism. And perhaps at this time, maybe his escape comes to his elusive behavior, him evading the police, if that's the case, does come to a conclusion and culmination tomorrow. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Leonard saying stay well.